Hi guys, and welcome to Sister's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making chicken teriyaki bites bowl. So, if you're ready, let's get started. You will need chicken, some veggies, garlic, ginger, Maltose, which is optional, sake, sugar, soy sauce, peanut oil, cornstarch, rice, something to keep your sauce in and a measuring cup, a knife and a grater, and a knife for your chicken, a strainer and spatula, a heat-proof bowl, a pot for your sauce, a wok and a slotted spoon, and something to keep your oil in, and a rice cooker. So first we're going to work on our sauce, and to do that we're going to start with a little bit of garlic. I like to cut the middle part open and then pop that little middle bit out because that tends to be a little bit bitter. And since I've had to switch the type of garlic I'm using, I now use a couple extra cloves. Normally I use one of those big round ones, but since I'm working with sort of older garlic, I'm going to cut about 4 cloves. So once we've done that, we're just going to grate our garlic into a little container, and the reason why we grate it is because what we want is the juice from the garlic. So instead of putting garlic in our sauce, we're just going to use the juice from it so that it's infused with flavor, but you don't end up with chunks or bits in it. So now for our ginger, we're just going to cut a chunk off, and we're going to cut the outside off, and then we're just going to grate that as well. And the same rule applies. What we're looking for is ginger juice to add to our sauce later. So now we can start putting it all together, and first we're going to measure out about a half a cup of sake, and we can just add that to our pan. Then a half a cup of soy sauce, and then a half a cup of sugar. So as you can tell, it's about a 1:1:1 ratio, but you're going to want to keep everything out because later when you mix it all together, you're going to want to taste it. So now we're going to just squeeze our juice from our garlic and ginger. You can do this by hand, you can also do it between 2 spoons, whatever works best for you. So if you're using Maltose, you're going to want to add that later. So right now we're heating up our sauce, and I use about a teaspoon worth of Maltose just to give it that sort of extra shininess to it, but if you don't have Maltose, don't worry about it. It's really more for the consistency and for the way it looks than it is for the flavor. So you can also just add a little bit of extra sugar. So you might have to add a couple different things to taste, but really you just want to mix it until all of the sugar is dissolved, and then you have your teriyaki sauce. So now we're going to work on our chicken, and what I like to do first is cut off sort of the yucky bits, and then I just cut it into cubes. How big or small you make the cubes is up to you, but it's good to try and keep them a consistent size so that it all cooks evenly. After that, we add about a spoonful of our teriyaki sauce to our chicken. Then you just cover it in tin foil, put it in the fridge for at least an hour, but up to a day. Now, I like veggies in my rice bowls, and I love oyster mushrooms because they're super easy to make, so just prep whatever veggies you want if you want them, and then just go from there. So it's been a few hours, and we're just going to check on our meat and make sure that it all marinated nicely. Then we add some cornstarch into a bowl, and we cover all our little chicken bits in cornstarch. So once that's done, we can start frying. So what we're going to want to do is fill our wok with oil about a half to a third of the way up, turn it on high heat, and wait for it to bubble. Once it's bubbling, we can add a few pieces of chicken at a time, and what you're going to want to do is flip them intermittently and wait for them to get very light brown. So once they're light brown, we can take them out and add them into our strainer, and then we just continue like this. What I like to do is move my chicken off onto a piece of paper towel to sort of let them leak a bit while I continue to fry. So you don't have to do this step, but once I've fried everything, I like to put them all back in again. 1, to make sure that it's really all cooked through, and 2, to give it just a little bit of extra crunchiness on the outside. So once we're done with that, we can get rid of our oil and put it in our heat-proof container, and then we can start on the second fry. So if we're ready for our second fry, you probably want to start your rice. So I'm just going to do that according to the instructions on my rice cooker. Alright, so we're going to start with some peanut oil and add that into our wok and then turn it up to high heat. Once the oil is hot, we're going to add about 1.5 spoonfuls of our teriyaki sauce, and we're going to stir it until it starts to really froth and bubble. Then we add a bit of chicken, flip it around, and we just continue doing that until all of our chicken has been tossed through the sauce. Now once all of it has been coated once, I like to toss it all in together just to make sure that it all stays nice and hot. If you're making veggies, you can just add a little bit more peanut oil, a little bit more sauce, and then just toss your veggies around in the teriyaki sauce as well. The reason why I like using oyster mushrooms for things like this is that you really don't have to do anything with them. You just have to dump them in and flip them around until they're ready. Now if you're like me and you like to add a little bit of sauce over your bowls, then I suggest just adding a little bit into your wok and letting it boil down a bit so that it's a little bit thicker for later. So to assemble our teriyaki bowls, you're just going to put some rice in the bowl first, then our meat, then our veggies, and I like to pour a little sauce over the top. So there we have it, a super easy teriyaki chicken bites bowl with whatever veggies you want. So go any way you want with it. Let me know how it turned out for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys back soon.